Have you ever wondered why there are people, no matter how talented or accomplished they are, others still don't want to be around them for long? And conversely, there are also ordinary people, not outstanding, but they always have a solid circle of friends, and are loved wherever they go? The difference is often not in money, status or appearance, but in the small habits in the way they behave every day. We all crave connection, to be heard, to be respected. We are not meant to be alone. But the harsh truth is that sometimes we build invisible walls between ourselves and others. We don't realize that small habits, things we think are harmless, are actually the blocks to all relationships. Imagine you are chatting with a friend. Instead of sharing their happiness, they are constantly complaining, criticizing, or only caring about themselves and not paying any attention to you. After a few times, would you still want to see them again? Of course not. And the same thing happens to us. If we unknowingly cultivate bad habits, the danger is that these habits are often not immediately apparent. They're like a drop of water that builds up over time, until the glass overflows and the other person chooses to distance themselves from you. You may never know the exact moment they start to feel uncomfortable, but you will know by the distance growing, the lack of messages, or the silence that replaces invitations to meet. And what makes us more subjective is that we often think, I am just me. Those who love me will stay. Those who don't will leave. But you forget that a relationship is like a garden. It needs to be cared for, nurtured, and protected from weeds. Bad habits are those weeds. If you let them grow, they will gradually take over all the beauty you once had. In life, no one is perfect. Everyone complains, is selfish, and is negative. But the difference lies in whether you realize it and adjust in time or not. Because if you let it go on for too long, you will become someone that others want to avoid, instead of wanting to be close to. Today's topic won't be about lofty philosophies or difficult to apply theories. Instead, we'll look straight at very common habits, seemingly harmless but are things that gradually destroy the relationships around you. And I believe that, when you realize and change, you will see a clear difference. Others begin to open up more, want to listen to you more, and you yourself become a person who brings comfort in the eyes of everyone. Before moving on to the next part, I want you to stop for a moment and ask yourself, has anyone ever left me without knowing why? Has anyone ever contacted me less and less, and I just thought they were busy? If so, perhaps the answer lies in the habits we are about to explore. And this is the time for you to look back at yourself. Not to blame, but to change, to grow and become more valuable in the eyes of those around you. Then, what 4 habits are causing you to lose valuable connections with others? Let's dive into each habit now. Have you ever been in a conversation where after a few minutes, you feel like all the energy has been sucked out of you? The other person has nothing but complaints, stressful work, annoying coworkers, terrible weather, traffic, money, health. They turn everything in their life into a reason to complain. And the result? You feel exhausted, suffocated, and just want to end the conversation as soon as possible. Complaining is one of the most dangerous habits that can alienate people, because it silently destroys the atmosphere you create. The thing is, many people complain without even realizing that they are doing it. They consider it a way to relieve stress, a normal communication habit. But the truth is, to those around them, they just feel heavy and tired. Imagine this. You meet up with a group of old friends after months of not seeing each other. Everyone is eager to share their joys and talk about the good things in life. But then, after just a few minutes, someone interrupts with a series of complaints. My job is boring. My boss is unreasonable. My salary is low. I just feel frustrated at work. Nothing good ever happens. Repeated over and over again. The whole meeting turns from fun to heavy, and you feel like you don't want to organize another meeting. That's the negative power of complaining. Why does complaining drive people away? Because people are highly influenced by emotions. When you inject negative energy into a conversation, it spreads like a virus. People can walk into a room in a good mood, but just being around someone who complains constantly will make them leave feeling tired, uninspired, and even angry without knowing why. No one wants to go through that experience again. What's more worrying is that if you complain too often, you will gradually be labeled as a negative person. And once that label is attached, It will be very difficult for others to see you differently. They will remember you not for your smile, not for your encouragement, but for your constant complaining. And no one wants to invite a gray cloud into their life. But here's the important truth. Complaining isn't always bad. Sometimes it comes from a place of genuine frustration, a desire to share and find empathy. It's all about how we express it. You can talk about your problems, but in a solution-oriented way, rather than a complaint-driven one. For example, instead of saying, "My job sucks, and nothing seems to be going well," you could say, "I've had some challenges at work lately, but I'm trying to figure out how to deal with them." What's your experience with overcoming them? The same problem, but the way you share it will feel completely different. An effective way to reduce the habit of complaining is to practice grateful thinking. Instead of focusing on the negative, ask yourself, what am I grateful for in this situation? Maybe your job is stressful, but you still have a steady income to pay your bills. Maybe the weather is bad, but you still have a roof over your head. When you start focusing on the things you are grateful for, you will naturally stop complaining, and you will gradually become someone who inspires others instead of draining them. The question I want to leave you with is, how many times have you complained in the past week? And how many of those times did you actually find a solution instead of just complaining? If the answer makes you think, then it's time for a change. Complaining may make you feel better in the moment, but in the long run, it disconnects you, turns you away from valuable friends, and makes you someone no one wants to be around. Instead of complaining, focus on being grateful, finding solutions, and spreading positive energy. Because at the end of the day, people don't come together to complain. They come together to uplift, inspire, and make each other better. Have you ever been around someone who seems to find fault with everything and anyone? No matter how well you do, they have a way of adding, "Well, that's fine, but," and then a barrage of criticism. Sound familiar? The habit of criticizing and judging is one of the big reasons why many people are alienated without even realizing it. The issue here is not the feedback. Sincere feedback can help others improve, but the difference is in the attitude. A constructive comment comes from a place of concern, while constant criticism comes from an ego that wants to prove, "I'm right, and you're wrong." When you constantly look for mistakes, dissect shortcomings, you unintentionally send the message, "You're not good enough. You never are," and no one wants to be around someone who makes them feel inferior like that. Imagine this. Your friend just shared that they got a promotion after years of hard work. Instead of saying, "Congratulations, you deserved it," you reply, "Yeah, but that's not a big deal. My company has a much higher position." Or worse, you add, "Maybe it was just luck, not your ability." Such comments may seem harmless, but in reality, they stab at the other person's pride and excitement. They may let it slide a few times, but over time, you become the person they don't want to share any joy with. Constant criticism puts people on the defensive. They wonder, whatever I say, this person will find fault with. This can lead to a strained relationship, a loss of comfort and authenticity. You may not realize it, but people may start to distance themselves and limit contact because they feel disrespected. And so, even if you have no ill intentions, you are labeled as difficult or overbearing. One important thing to remember: no one is perfect. You are not perfect either. If you are always criticizing others and forget that you are flawed, you will fall into the trap of arrogance, and arrogance kills all connections. So, how do you get out of this habit? The answer starts with listening. Before you make any comments, ask yourself, does the other person really need advice, or do they just need me to listen? Sometimes they don't need a solution. They just need empathy. And empathy is sometimes as simple as nodding, smiling, and saying, "I understand, and I'm here for you." Next, learn how to make sincere compliments. A well-timed compliment has a powerful motivating power. If you focus on the good things people do instead of finding faults, you will become a source of motivation for them to improve. And when you become an inspiration instead of a critic, you will find that people naturally want to be around you more. Of course, there will be times when you need to give feedback. But remember, give feedback not to prove yourself right, but to make the other person better. Choose constructive language. Instead of, "This is all wrong. What kind of business is this?" you can say, "I think this could be improved." This would be more effective. Same idea, but one side is putting others down. The other side is building them up. Who do you want to be? There is a question I want you to ponder. Are you someone who others are afraid to share good news with for fear of being criticized if the answer is a little shocking to you? Then it's time to make a change. Because no one wants to be in a relationship where the fun is constantly being doused with cold water. When you stop criticizing indiscriminately and replace it with listening, encouragement, and honest feedback, you will notice something magical. Not only will others feel more comfortable around you, but you will also feel lighter, more positive, and happier. Have you ever experienced this feeling? You spend time listening, sharing, helping someone wholeheartedly, but when you need them, all you get in return is silence or an indifferent rejection? How does that feel? Heartbreaking, disappointing, and sometimes makes you wonder, is this relationship worth continuing to maintain? This is the result of one of the most dangerous habits. Selfishness. Always put your own interests above all and disregard the feelings and needs of others. Selfish people often fail to see this in themselves. They tell their story without asking the other person, "What about you?" They are always looking for help. But when others are in trouble, they stay silent or make excuses not to give. Gradually, the relationship becomes one-sided. Others keep giving, and they only know how to take. And you know what happens when the scale is tilted to one side? It falls. Imagine, in a group of friends, there is always one person who only revolves around himself. In every meeting, he spends most of the time talking about work, difficulties, dreams, but almost never cares to ask about others. At first, people can listen patiently, but over time, that patience turns into annoyance. Others start to avoid, and they themselves, the selfish ones, wonder, why does no one really understand and accompany me? The truth is, no one wants to be someone else's outlet for their frustrations without ever receiving anything in return. No one wants to be taken advantage of, and when a relationship feels unfair, one person is always giving, and the other is always taking, it won't last. This doesn't mean you have to always put others before yourself. Sacrifice everything. No, the point is balance in a healthy relationship. Both parties need to give and receive. It could be caring, listening, or even just a small act of showing that you appreciate the other person. One question worth asking ourselves is, in your relationships, do you give more or take more? If the answer leans heavily toward one side, it might be time to make an adjustment. The solution to selfish habits lies not in grand actions, but in small, consistent changes. Start by practicing empathy. Whenever you have a conversation, don't just wait for your turn to speak. Ask yourself, how is the other person feeling? What do they need from me right now? Sometimes, what they need is not advice, not material help, but just presence, a nod, a sincere listening. Next, practice creates a balance between giving and receiving. If someone consistently supports you, don't just take it and forget about it. Find a way to give back. No matter how small, it could be a sincere thank you, a message of encouragement, or a favor in return when they need it. It's this kind of balanced exchange that nurtures long-term relationships. And finally, remember, small sacrifices make great faith. Sometimes, giving up a little of your own comfort to help someone else is the way to build the strongest bond. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel, especially how appreciated you felt. So, I want you to ask yourself, are you someone who makes others feel loved? Or are you someone who makes them feel used? The answer to that question will determine a lot about the quality of relationships in your life. Remember, selfishness may give you short-term benefits, but in the long run, it costs you more: trust, respect, and even valuable relationships. When you find a balance between giving and receiving, you not only keep the important people around you, but you also become someone people want to be with for the long haul. Have you ever noticed that some people just show up and make the atmosphere heavy? They don't have to say much, but their eyes, attitude, and even their first words carry a dark energy. When the group is excited about a new idea, they are the first to interrupt. It's not going to work. It's probably going to fail. Just one sentence, and everyone's spirit drops to rock bottom. This is the habit: negative, pessimistic, and lacking energy. A seemingly harmless habit, but is the killer of connection in every relationship. Humans are susceptible to emotions. Psychologists call it emotional contagion. What that means is that when you carry negative energy, it not only stays with you, but it also spreads to those around you. And no one wants to be around someone who drags them down. Especially when life is stressful enough. Pessimists often think they're just being realistic, that they see risks that others don't. But the truth is, reality does not mean negative. A realistic optimist can acknowledge the difficulties, but still believe that he or she can overcome them. A pessimist sees the dark picture and insists that there is no hope. And when you constantly send people the message that you will fail, they will eventually stop wanting to share with you. Imagine this scenario. Your group of friends decide to start a small business together. Everyone is excited and discussing it enthusiastically. But you shake your head. With so much competition, we're definitely going to lose. They might let it go just once. But if you keep throwing cold water on them, they'll eventually cut you out of the game. Not because they hate you, but because they want to protect their own positive spirit. And so, you isolate yourself without even realizing it. The danger is that negative habits not only ruin relationships, but also limit your life. When you always look at things with a pessimistic eye, you stop challenging yourself, stop stepping out of your comfort zone, because you have concluded that it won't work. Not only do you miss out on opportunities, but you also miss out on the trust and companionship of those around you. So how to escape this pessimistic spiral? First of all, let's focus on what you can control. There are many things in life that are beyond your control. From the weather, to circumstances, to the actions of others. If you keep blaming your fate, you will drown in helplessness. But when you choose to focus on what you can change, your attitude, your effort, your response, you will regain your power. Second, build a habit. Realistic optimism. This doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is fine, but rather acknowledge the difficulties while still maintaining faith that there is a way through. Try asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what can I do to prepare for it? This question keeps you from falling into delusions, but also keeps pessimism from killing your hope. Finally, nourish your spirit every day. Meditation, reading, and sports are three extremely effective tools. Meditation helps you observe negative thoughts without getting caught up in them. Reading opens up new perspectives, showing you that the world is not all gray. And sports help your body release positive energy, relieve stress, and awaken inner strength. I want you to ask yourself, what energy are you bringing to those around you? When you walk into a room, do others feel lighter or heavier? The answer will tell you whether you are spreading light or sowing darkness. Remember, the world has enough problems. No one needs another pessimist to drag them down. People look to each other for encouragement, for strength. If you are the one who can bring that energy, you will become the center that people want to be around. None of us are perfect. We all complain, judge, put ourselves first, and get pessimistic. It's human nature. But the question isn't whether you have these habits. It's whether you let them become yours. Regular lifestyle, yours or not. Because once those negative habits become ingrained in your personality, you will gradually lose your positive presence in the eyes of others. Let's look back at the 4 habits we just analyzed: complaining, criticizing, selfish, and negative. Each habit may seem small, but together they become the silent destroyer of relationships. You may be successful in your career, talented, intelligent, and even rich, but if you have these 4 habits, sooner or later others will avoid you, because they don't want your presence to become a burden. The good news is that you don't have to completely change yourself to be liked. You don't have to try to be the perfect version. All you have to do is eliminate bad habits and cultivate a positive attitude. When you complain a little less, criticize a little less, be a little less selfish, and know how to replace pessimism with hope, you are enough to make a big difference in the eyes of people. Try asking yourself, what do you bring when you walk into a room? Does the other person feel relieved, warm, and energized? Or does he or she feel stressed, tired, and just want the conversation to end? This answer says a lot about how present you are in the other person's life. There's a funny thing about relationships. We often don't remember exactly who said what, but we always remember feeling that person brings. A person who spreads positive energy will always be welcomed, and a person who spreads negativity, whether intentionally or unintentionally, will eventually be shunned. If you want to be loved and respected, Start with the little things. When you feel like complaining, try redirecting it to finding a solution. When you're about to criticize, ask yourself, can I say this in a more constructive way? When you find yourself being selfish, practice stopping and asking yourself, what does the other person need from me right now? When your mind goes into a pessimistic spiral, remember, you can't control everything, but you can always control how you react. I want you to imagine this: if every time you meet someone, you leave them with a little hope, a little faith, or simply a smile, then over time, you will become someone people want to be with. They will come to you not because you are perfect, but because being with you makes them feel better, stronger, and more energized. And that is the power of building active presence. It not only changes the way others see you, but it also changes the way you see life. You will have less need to chase after recognition, because your presence is enough to make others appreciate you. You will have less fear of being abandoned, because others will naturally want to stay with you. Remember, you can't control whether others like you or not, but you can absolutely control whether you become them healthy energy source in their eyes or not. When you do that, you not only maintain relationships, but you also expand them, making your life richer both emotionally and spiritually. So, the final question I want you to take away from this video is, who do you want to be in the eyes of others? A gray cloud that drags everything down? Or a source of light that everyone wants to be close to? The answer lies in small choices every day. And it starts with you, right now. Have you ever wondered why some people are loved more and more as they live, while others are gradually avoided without understanding the reason? This video points out 4 seemingly small habits that silently destroy all relationships. But this is only part of the journey to building active presence and inner strength. Right finger if you want to understand more about how Stoicism and positive thinking can change the way you behave. Control your emotions and maintain your relationships. Don't stop here. Our playlist is your map to explore, from how to stop complaining, to breaking free from negativity, to the art of discipline and inner freedom. Check out the entire playlist to transform yourself into the energy source that everyone wants to be around. Each video follows one another like small but powerful steps, helping you build a strong mindset, a more balanced and respectful life. Right finger click subscribe, turn on notifications and continue exploring the playlist now. Because if you miss just one video, you could miss out on a perspective that could change the way you live and the way others see you.